Hello, my name is Chris,
And I'm Beth.
and we're with Haunts of Richmond Ghost Tours, and we're this afternoon down in the basement of the Main Street Public Library. Specifically, we're in the Special Collections Unit here, a place that we walk by on a regular basis as we're doing our ghost tours down here in the evening, walking up and down Franklin Street and Main Street. But today, we have the privilege of being down here in the actual building itself, where we get to share one of the couple of the stories, actually, that we have about this beautiful building here.
Of course, the Special Collections Unit is located in the original Dooley Library that was built by Sally Dooley for her husband James after he had passed away. But our story actually takes place starting with another famous character here in Richmond, and that is Lewis Ginter. Of course, those of you who are familiar with Richmond are familiar with the Ginter Botanical Gardens, the Jefferson Hotel, and the Ginter Park neighborhood, all, of course, courtesy of Mr. Ginter. But Mr. Ginter was not a regular, or I should say a native of Richmond. He actually moved down here from New York. And he won a couple of fortunes in his lifetime and lost a couple of fortunes in his lifetime. But with his final fortune, of course, he moved around a bit. He visited places for his businesses. But he found himself back up in New York City, and he decided to catch up with one of his old friends, somebody he had been lifelong friends with since childhood. They had been writing back and forth to each other, and he just wanted to check in on him. So when he met up with his friend, he was rather taken aback. Of course, Ginter, having been on multiple fortunes now, was very well dressed, impeccable. His friend, however, not so well dressed. In fact, his clothing was threadbare, and he looked a little ill, let's say. And Ginter was worried about his friend, so when he convinced him to take him back to his living condition, or his living area, he was upset. Not in a bad way, but upset that his friend was living so Spartanly. Okay, there was only a bed, there was only a table, there was only a chair, but that what there was a lot of were books, lots and lots and lots of books, so high as the man would stand up. And he didn't understand how could his friend live like this with so many books. Ginter was a go-to guy. He went out and he did things in life. His friend read about life. He traveled by reading. And Ginter just couldn't grasp this idea.
Yeah. So Lewis, definitely wanting to see his friend be able to get some better living conditions. When he leaves, he starts writing to his friend, and he starts including a monthly stipend, writing to his friend saying, please use these funds to better your living conditions. I want you to be able to not only live, but live well, live comfortably, live healthily. And so this goes on for several years, with Lewis writing these letters and sending these monthly checks. But when he goes up again after a few years have passed to visit his friend again while he's up there on business, he stops in and he is a little distressed to see that his friend's living conditions have not really improved in any way, shape, or form. Still the same threadbare clothing, same Spartan living conditions, but the book collection has grown several fold. It was very clear where Lewis Ginter's money had been going that he'd been sending to his friend. So he sits his friend down and has a friendly but firm little chat with his friend to say, I'm going to continue to send you this money. I really need you to be able to, not only for yourself, improve your living conditions for yourself, but also for me, for my peace of mind. I want to know that you are comfortable in your physical life. And so his friend, gently chastened, does agree to do so, and Lewis continues to send the money, and his friend does get himself some better clothes and some better food and the like to be able to go and live that life that Lewis wants him to. It's probably fair to say that a few of the dollars may have still gone to get a few more books, but that's just how his friend lived his life. Now, this does go on again for a couple more years until his friend writes to Lewis and says, I need you to come see me. I'm very ill. My time is limited. So Lewis does rush up to New York City to be by his friend's side. And when he gets there, his friend from his bed there says to Lewis, you've been so kind to me. I don't know what I can possibly do to repay you for your generosity. And Lewis, without really even thinking about it, without missing a beat, looks at his friend and he says, I know exactly what you can do. You can give me all of your books. if there was one thing that Lewis really wanted to be the legacy of this friendship, he wanted to not only be this man's friend, but he also wanted to be able to understand where his friend was coming from, to understand how his friend lived his life. So he was bound and determined to be able to take these books and see how it was that his friend had lived. So, sure enough, within the next couple of weeks, his friend does pass away, and all of that book collection is crated up, shipped down here to Richmond, where it goes to the Ginter house over on Franklin Street, just a few blocks away from here, where Lewis unpacks it and basically builds his personal library around this collection that his friend had gathered throughout his life.
Now, every night Lewis spends time reading these books, but what the staff starts to notice is something odd. He's having a conversation, but there shouldn't be anybody in that room with him. Ginter's partner and business associate, John Pope, had already gone to bed, so nobody else should be in that room with him. But the staff distinctly hears two men discussing whatever book Ginter has been reading. And this continues throughout Ginter's life, so we're pretty sure his friend hitched a ride with those books and continued to meet with Ginter and discuss those books and make them understood as to how he lived. Now, when Ginter passes away, his niece, Grace, packs up those books because the Dooley Library has just been opened, and she brings them over here, and they become the cornerstone of the Special Collections unit here. Now, the staff here notices that anytime one of those books comes out off the shelf, all of a sudden we have a conversation between two gentlemen about that book happening. So apparently Mr. Ginter and his friend have now come here to the library. Now, they're not the only ghosts here. We also have one that's known as the Whistler by the staff. He is heard in the back corridors. He is heard in the hallways. He believes to be a custodial staff member who's still here, whistling as he's working through the library, making sure that it's upkept today. The ghosts have also been known to ride around on the elevators going from the first and the second floor. They are programmed to rest on the first floor, but the staff will see them all of a sudden open up their doors, close, go up to the second floor, open up the doors. Somebody is supposed to get out, but they never see anybody get out. The other thing that happens is there seems to be another staff member here who will alert the current staff if there's a book that has been misshelved. They will just tip it down and let that staff member know this needs to go into its proper place here in the library. So I can gladly say we have some friendly ghosts here at the library. We don't have scary ones as they had in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, nothing like the New York City Public Library of the 1980s in the Ghostbusters movie. Nothing quite so terrifying. If you are here and you do have something unexplained happen to you, whether you hear something, hear some voices, hear some whistling from people that are not there, or perhaps you see a book kind of tip over of its own volition, you can take comfort that these spirits here don't mean you any harm. They are just going about doing the things that they did during their life, enjoying the books around you, and perhaps going ahead through the day-to-day work that they may have done during their lives. So with that, we hope that you can come on by here and enjoy the books just as much as they seem to have done in their lives.